When it comes to tax planning, your future tax rate might be more important than your current tax rate. Because at the end of the day, there's only three things that tax rates can do. They can go up, they can go down, and they can stay right where they are. And if we talk about tax planning, the biggest opportunity in the tax code is making decisions today on how we want our income tax right now so that we can affect how it's taxed in the future. This comes through in a lot of different ways, but the one that impacts the largest number of taxpayers is the idea behind traditional versus Roth IRA retirement plan contributions and Roth conversions. Because this ultimately just comes down to a timing difference. Each of these strategies can get sold as all sorts of other things, but at the end of the day, they work out exactly the same. You'll end up in the same position if tax rates stay exactly the same. Where we come out ahead is if tax rates change over time. So we're going to focus on traditional versus Roth IRA in this video. It applies to other areas of the tax code, including things like depreciation, areas where all we're doing is trading a tax benefit or expense today for a tax benefit or expense in the future. So when I'm having this conversation with clients that I work with or with financial advisors, my first question is always, are you concerned at all that tax rates might go up in the future? And I've yet to find the person who can confidently tell me, no, I think Congress is going to lower tax rates. That just doesn't seem to be what's on the agenda. So if we assume that tax rates will go up in the future by law, by what Congress does, which we're in the middle of first year of a new administration. There's a lot of talk of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act getting extended. My crystal ball is broken. I don't have a direct line to Congress. It's very possible that those Tax Cuts and Jobs Act rates can get extended, but there hasn't been talk of them going down. The other way that tax rates change is as our income changes. So as our income goes up or down, it'll push us into different tax brackets. So when we think about decisions we should make today on traditional versus Roth, on converting to Roth, we can't just look at what rates am I paying today. So what do I expect to pay in the future? Now, we said there was three options of what tax rates can do. They can go up, they can go down, they can stay right where they are. In two of those three situations, Roth is going to win because if tax rates go up, that means we had already paid the tax at lower rates. Tax rates have gone up and now we have a tax-free account, so we're not subjected to those higher tax rates. If tax rates stay the same, having Roth dollars as opposed to traditional IRA dollars creates flexibility because we can pull those dollars out of Roth even in large chunks if something unexpected happens, like needing a new roof or a large medical expense, or just because we decided we wanted to travel the world or go sit in the front row at the Super Bowl. Whatever the case might be, if we have to take a large sum of money all at once, even if tax rates on paper have stayed the same, our flexibility has gone up. So the only scenario where Roth is going to be worse than traditional IRA is if tax rates go down when we need to use those dollars compared to when we put the dollars in, which absolutely can happen if we look at an individual's income history or what they expect to make in the future. A lot of people will end up with a few years in between retirement and fully taking Social Security or required minimum distribution age where they might have lower income. So if we aggressively convert to Roth in the last couple of years of our employment when our tax rates are at the very top and then end up with lower income in retirement, yeah, that can work out against us. And so this conversation of traditional versus Roth, when do I convert? It needs to be specific to your situation. But we've got to keep these things in mind, that there's only these three things that tax rates can do. We've got to look at which one do we think is most likely for our situation. And we've got to remember that at the end of the day, for most of us, tax planning comes down to timing and understanding the choices that are available to us. So it's not just how much can I contribute. It's not just what accounts do I have access to, but it's what type of funds do I want to be contributing today and when in the future do I plan to use them? And so if we're talking about traditional versus Roth, if you're going through this evaluation yourself or you're working with a professional on this topic, that timeline has to be part of the conversation. We've got to talk about what are rates today versus what do we expect them to be in the future. If that's not part of the conversation, we aren't having a serious discussion about the right types of accounts to be using. Happy tax planning.